Yes, for my Christmas episode, I have chosen to do Love Actually. When I told several people about this, they were like, "Why is that the Christmas movie?" Because that's the movie I chose as the Christmas movie. I've seen this movie like 100 times over the last 20 years. Actually, 19. Now I'm looking at the date. Love Actually is a 2003 film written and directed by Richard Curtis. And it has an ensemble cast. It features actors such as Alan Rickman, Keira Knightley, Liam Neeson, Hugh Grant, Bill Nighy, Emma Thompson, Colin Firth, Andrew Lincoln, Rowan Atkinson. Even Billy Bob Thornton makes an appearance as the President of the United States. I think one of the reasons that people don't like this movie is one of the reasons that I love this movie. So much is going on. There's so many characters, so many storylines, and they're all interconnected. And you don't really have to follow it really that closely to understand what's going on. It's not a Christopher Nolan film. It's not something that you have to you're paying close attention to follow along. They do this in such a way that you can easily follow along with all the different characters going along and moving through the plot and everything. And I love that as the story goes on, you realize that these aren't just a bunch of random people. They're all connected in some way. Some of them more connected than others. Emma Thompson's character is a friend to Liam Neeson's character, married to Alan Rickman's character, and the sister to Hugh Grant's character. So, just through her character alone, there's a bunch of connections, and that's just one character. This whole movie is basically like that. There's people you barely see this one character and they're friends with that one. They know each other. There's a scene I actually never picked up on this until this watch. There's a brief scene with Andrew Lincoln's character and some exhibit. And later there's a party, and I just picked up it's his exhibit place. Christmas Uncovered, I think it was called, the name of the exhibit. And it's the same spot, and I don't know why I never picked up on it now. They make it kind of clear that it is the same spot. So it's not reveal. No, it's deliberate. It's a deliberate choice. Another complaint I heard about it, and I actually do agree with this, Andrew Lincoln's character, I get secretly liking someone, not telling them, and then, they married someone else. That's a common thing. That's normal. That's whatever. Let's get over it, I guess. That's... Well, but what he does is, at the wedding, he has a camera, and he's filming her. Only her. And unfortunately for him, the person she hired to do the filming ruined it. There was she said there was a blue tint throughout the whole video, and she didn't like it. So she was like, "Oh, let me see your video. I saw you were filming." And that's when she sees that he's the one, he's only filming her. She's like, "Wait a second." So she realizes that, he actually is in love with her. Okay, fine, whatever. The thing that I find this a little weird, and I know other people find it weird, is the scene at the door when he's holding signs. And it's like, I know that you're married to my best friend, but I'll always love you. It's like, it's a little creepy, yes. And then right after that, he walks away, and then she runs out and kisses him. It's no, that wasn't the right thing right there. Another kind of complaint I always heard is the kid, little Sam, I think his name is, the stepson of Liam Neeson's character. He's in love with this one girl, and at the end, she's about to get on a plane, and he just like runs through airport security. And even though he's like 12, I think, in the movie, I'm pretty sure. I don't think TSA has a problem shooting a kid if they think it's for national security. He would have been shot. Like, they're like chasing him through the airport, and then they just kind of casually give him back to Liam Neeson after they catch him. Like, that's not how that scene would play out in real life. Even if they don't shoot him, there'd be an investigation. Like, how did this happen? They wouldn't just give him right back to Liam Neeson. I'm jumping to the end of the movie, aren't I? Yeah, I am. I totally am. Something kind of great is that one of the characters is the Prime Minister. They had the Prime Minister be a character. And they had a romantic plot with the Prime Minister. And it's, of course, Hugh Grant. And I think the one scene everyone remembers with him is the Jump for Your Love. Jump for My Love. I don't remember. It's a popular song and I can't remember the title. And he's like dancing through the house to it. Yeah, that's like the one scene. It's like, oh, he's the dancing Prime Minister. Yeah, there's more to the story than just that. He does other things. I think his storyline is a little messed up too. I misunderstood it until this time, but it's still messed up. The way I interpreted it was he was falling for her and he didn't want to date an employee, so he fired her so they can be together. That's not how it happened, but it's what happened, because he started to like her and he's like, nope, get a grip of yourself. This isn't right, or whatever. And he fires her, and then like he's like suddenly realizes, oh, I like her, and I think she liked me, and he goes to her house, and it's like, oh, yeah, let's be together and stuff and such. I'm very simplifying it. I also this is obviously going to be a spoiler episode. A little late for that at this point. It's like, actually, you know what? I'm not going to spoil anything. Like, what if I just did that? Like, I've given away so much of the movie, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, no spoilers in this review. It's not even a review. There's technically a sequel. I just found out about it, actually, when I was kind of researching for the description, like the name of the actors and the year and the director and everything. I saw there is a short film sequel called Red Nose Day, actually. Something called Red Nose Day. I kind of did research on that, and it's a charity thing. I don't know if it's celebrated in the UK, because I don't think I've ever heard of it. But yeah, I just watched it. It's okay. I don't know if it's canon. If they do an actual sequel, I don't know if they'll keep that storyline. Because it's been 14 years between the first one and the sequel. And everyone's exactly where we left them, and they haven't changed. There's a few things, like two of the characters that got together have kids now. One of them got married to somebody. I didn't recognize him. I don't know if he was somebody from the movie. Rowan Atkinson's character is working at a Walgreens instead of a department store. That Liam Neeson's stepson and the girl he liked, they're now getting married. So, like, okay, so there have been changes, but, like, not enough, if that makes sense. Like it's like they didn't go anywhere. They didn't move or like grow as people. They're all pretty much exactly where we left them, doing the same thing. There's even moments that like they literally just take the quotes from the movie and just redo the scene in a new context, and it's like it's the same. Like Bill Nye's character, Billy Mack, I think that's the name of his. As a rock star, like a old rock star. Like his glory days are behind him, and he's wanting to relive his fame. And the movie he redid, Love Is All Around Us, but he did Christmas Is All Around Us, and that's a joke they use throughout the whole movie. It's really good. There's a scene in that where he's being interviewed by a DJ, and he just gives like a lot of honest answers, and the DJ's like, "Oh wow, thank you for giving honest answers. Nobody ever does that on the walk or radio or whatever it says." And they get the same actor to come back, and they do that exact scene, except he says something different. Like the thing that makes him say thanks for giving an honest answer. The honest answer is obviously different, but the rest of the scene plays out almost exactly. Yeah, not really a fan of the sequel, quote unquote. I like that they brought attention to it, like maybe enough people. I think it was done in 2017. I don't think, enough. So much time's gone by that it's not gonna. There's a lot of storylines in here I actually kind of forgot about. Because I think there's 10 storylines going on. And only like 2 or 3 of them I thought were kind of the main one. Obviously, if there's 10 storylines going on, there's not like a main character. There's not even like a main storyline. Because I think like it equally jumps between each one. Maybe not equally, because I don't remember the guy's name. He finds his wife cheating on him with his brother, and he goes to live out in the cabin somewhere, and he falls in love with this Portuguese girl. They're giving, I think, the least amount of screen time, because their romance seemed to kind of just happen. Of course, like I said, they're given the least amount of screen time. It could have happened off screen. We see like one scene of them together. I think he's a writer. She accidentally causes his manuscript to go into the lake, and they both jump in after it, and they have kind of like a funny moment with that. And that's like the only interaction you really see with them, because she doesn't speak English and he doesn't speak Portuguese, so it's mostly just like that kind of what you'd imagine happens with that happens, and then all of a sudden they're in love. Like he likes her and she likes him, but they can't speak to each other, so they don't know. But you can read her subtitles. Also, she kisses him, so that I think that transcends language. However, I do like how they get together. It is one of the climax. This doesn't have like a direct climax in a way, but there's like multiple, like they come together at the same time, like this big. I love like kind of like the theme music. It like builds this big sweeping music thing. I'm not good at wording. I can't English. Basically, there's slightly, like right before the ending, there's a scene where it shows him going to like a school and learning how to speak Portuguese, because she went back to Portugal. And so you briefly see him learning it, and then like it shows him like walking around, like practicing it while he's walking. And again, he doesn't have a lot of screen time, so like he could be practicing more off camera. Finally, he goes to Portugal and he goes to propose to her, and there's like her family and like the whole town like walking behind him, and he goes to where she works, and he says in broken Portuguese like how he feels, and I love that they do that. Like they didn't just have him like show like a brief scene of him going to school and like practicing, and all of a sudden he's perfect at Portuguese. He speaks it, and the subtitles are not perfect. Like subtitle shows that he's not speaking perfect Portuguese, and it's funny, but it's also like realistic. It shows that like he didn't just study; he just picked up this language over the weekend. So that was nice. And then it kind of make it even better is not just him learning Portuguese. She also learned English because he does his whole speech, and she's like, she responds in English, and he's like, "You learned English?" And she was like, "Yes, just in case." So I was like, "Oh, that was great." So like they have the least amount of screen time, but I like how they get together. There's all kinds of different love stories in here. I think that's one of the things I like about. There's a lot I like about this movie. It's like I'm not going to be like, oh, the reason I like this movie is because of this one specific thing. One of the many reasons I like it is it shows like many different kinds of love. It's it's kind of like how in Frozen it's like, oh, it can be broken by an act of true love, and they think a kiss, and it's actually protecting your sister, and that's kind of the same thing here. It's all kinds of different types of love. There's romantic love, obviously. It's a romantic comedy. So there's a lot, most of the love stories are couples. But it shows like different kinds of love stories, and not all of them are particularly happy. It shows a cheating husband who gets caught, and it doesn't particularly show what happens. It kind of ends with them. Emma Thompson's character, she's married to Alan Rickman's character, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, I know," and he's like, "Oh no," and like she's like, "What would you do in my position?" And then walks away, and then it just kind of leaves you with that. It shows them a little bit later, but it doesn't really specify like what happened, or like if they're together or are they separated. But he was away. It's like he was gone for a month, and she was like, "It's good to see you." And I was like, I don't know what happened. Are you separated? Give us details. If they make a sequel, oh wait, if they make a sequel, they're probably gonna cut them out because Emma Thompson wasn't in the Red Nose Day actually special, because unfortunately Alan Rickman has since passed away. So Liam Neeson's character, the story begins with his wife had just passed away. He his wife had a son, and so he has a stepson he's got to raise now, and Sam, I think his name is, he's in love with the girl, and their storyline is trying to get her to notice him. I think her name is Joanna, and I think it was funny. There's kind of like a running joke throughout the movie is, like kind of like his celebrity crush is Claudia Schiffer, and he keeps bringing her up throughout the movie about he wants to be with Claudia Schiffer. It's kind of a running joke. And at the end of the movie, he runs into Claudia Schiffer. Like, it is Claudia, the actual person, Claudia Schiffer, but she's playing a character named Carol. And like, he's obviously taken aback. He's like stunned by her, and she was like, "Hi, I'm Carol. I'm someone's." I'm the mother of that kid, and he's like, "Oh, I hope we'll be seeing each other again," and I thought that was great. Kind of end with that joke. However, I'm glad that in the sequel, I'm going to keep calling it the sequel, even though I don't know if it is, if it's just like a joke thing they did. He's not with her, or at least he doesn't say. He doesn't show that home. They're sitting on a bench. And he doesn't say, "Oh, I'm married to Carol. Carol's at home waiting for me." He doesn't say anything like that. So it doesn't say if they're together. I just think it would be really weird if they were, because he'd only be with her because she looks like his celebrity crush. Granted, she's played by that celebrity, but she's not playing that celebrity. So it'd just be like, you're only with me because I look like somebody else, and that's not what love should be based on. Looks should never be the reason you're with someone, especially and when it comes to that, like, you look like somebody else. That's kind of creepy. And speaking of creepy, in the sequel, we've got Andrew Lincoln again with the boards. I don't know if after that scene in the movie, he just stopped showing up. He like stayed out of their lives, because he starts the message in the Red Nose Day actually special with, "It's been 14 years since I was by," and it's like, did you just disappear out of their lives after that night? Did all of you just cease to exist? Because there's a lot of times in that special where it's like, they keep saying, "Oh, it's been 14 years since this happened." It's like, did y'all just... It's kind of like Fuller House, where I only watched the first episode, and everyone kept saying, "Oh, since the 80s, since the 90s, since the 80s, since the 90s." And it's like they cease to exist between the end of Full House and the beginning of Fuller House. And everyone's just constantly referencing it. And I get it. I totally get it. It's just like a 16-minute short. And it's just they need to show just enough to kind of like... It's like nostalgia and it's like fan service. But if you like want to see this as like a real people, you made him look bad, because he's still showing the poster boards to Keira Knightley, and like trying not to have his best friend. He opens it with, "Say it's Carolers." She was like, "He's not gonna fall for that. It's May." I was like, that was kind of funny. Actually, that scene was it was kind of funny. It didn't make him look good because he's stuck doing that. He's still doing the same thing. That scene itself was funny because, like, he knew what she was going to say to his question, because it wasn't just like... They were having a conversation with the poster boards, and he knew what she was going to say, and then it turns out he was married, and he, like, one of the poster boards was like, "Here, meet the wife," and then she walks up with the poster board, like, "Hi, nice to meet you," and they're just, like, talking back and forth with the poster boards, and I thought that was funny. But it's still sad that he's just doing the same thing. I don't want them to have just... I don't want him to have just walked out of their life, because that's his best friend. Like, she married his best friend. So did he just walk out of their life for 14 years and just randomly show up? That's what makes it kind of seem like. Because he's like, "It's been 14 years since I've been over here." Why? Okay, I think the saddest storyline is the one of Sarah, played by Laura Linney. She never actually really finds love in the movie. She's got this brother who's... I think he's in a psychiatric ward or like a mental hospital or something, and he always calls and she picks up, and no matter what's going on, if like she could be in the middle of crying, she'll act like everything's fine for him. And there is this guy that she's like had a crush on for the last 2 years, and she finally has a chance with him, and like she has him in her apartment, and her brother calls, and she literally says, "Oh no, I'm not doing anything. I'm free. I can come by if you want." So like, she's more like I'm not saying like, oh, she should have ignored her brother, but he's taking over her life and she's not living her life to the point where at the end of the movie she's still not with it. Like, I'm not saying you have to be with someone to be happy. That's not what I'm saying. I just realized that's how the way I was gonna word that. It was like, oh wait, she is stuck, and yeah, like in the sequel thing, they had her married. At first, it looked like she was stuck still 14 years later, because that she's at the same job. When you see her, she's at the same job. The guy that she had a crush on, it shows him standing up and walk towards her and walk past. I'm like, oh, are they still doing this? But then she gets a call, and I'm like, it's her brother. And she picks up. It's her husband. Like, oh, she did get married. So, like, if there's anything I want to be true in the sequel, it's probably that. It's like, yay, she didn't end like depressed, because the movie ends with her story unresolved. And I was like, like I said, like, there's a lot that I forgot about in this movie. So many storylines, and I actually did kind of forget about her. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end the episode. Before I end, I will say that I've actually been thinking about this. This would be the last episode of 2022. But I wasn't going to do this with this show. I was just going to just endlessly just post episodes without labeling it as whatever. I decided I'm going to do a season 2. I'm going to do seasons for this. This is the end of season 1. And after I post this, I'm actually I'm going to be on break from this show for a couple weeks. And same with Digressor. After I post that episode, I'm gonna basically stop podcasting for the first 2 weeks of 2023. Like, give a little break, you know. So I've even been working on a new opening theme, but I haven't finalized it yet. So that's what you're still hearing, the old one, because it's obviously this season. I'm working on a new one. And you'll hear that next season when I start posting that. But yeah, this is the end of the first season and the first 25 episodes. And I'm going to end the episode here. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal, and a Happy New Year.